Hello, my friends. Welcome to a very rainy spring day here in the metal shop. Got the garage, beautiful flowering crabapple tree, and pouring rain and maybe 50 degrees. Oh, you're looking at the spot where the Jeep should be sitting. So we're inside today, and this is kind of sort-of-ish part two. We are going to be installing the harnesses. We did the harness bar last time, and I don't know if you can see George, the shop dog, over there through the bikes. Hi, George. Hello. There he is. Hi. See the tail wagging. He heard me open the door. Thought he was going somewhere. He's wrong. So, what we need to do is we need to remove the seatbelt bolts first, here and here, to install the eye bolts to accept the snap-in harnesses. If you remember, I said I'm going to put the snap-in harnesses on the passenger side so that I can still use the folding seat. Even though you have to be a contortionist to get into the back seat, it is now for small children only. So these are T50 Torx fittings. I think the federal government must have mandated that they be a Torx and that they be a certain thread size. I believe it's a 7/16, and that they're like a grade 8. They all seem across the spectrum of American-made manufacturers. T50 Torx, grade 8 bolts, 7/16 thread. So I'm going to zip this one and this one out and put the eye bolts in. So stand by. All right, so these came out easily. They've been removed when they refurbished this Jeep and rhino-lined everything. So luckily I have some good 7/16 grade 8 washers on hand, probably from when I did the same type of project in the Mustang, but you need a washer just to hold this kind of plastic shroud in place here. They don't go in, they're not going to go in as easily as your Torx bolt did, because obviously you have to spin it. You can't really apply, can't do this with a machine. You got to do it by hand, and then you have to slip a screwdriver in the last few threads to get it the last bit of the way there. So I'm not going to need this plastic cap anymore. I'll put it in the console here because this is going to stick up over the top. I have another one here. This bolt didn't have a washer because it goes into a flat piece of metal bracket here, but I'm going to use a washer on it anyway. So I'm going to get that going, and I'll show you in a second. All right, so we have the eye bolts in, and actually, just as a little side note, if you wanted to keep this thing completely stealth, you could put this plug right back over the factory sleeve if you wanted to, whatever. But there's the eye bolts, and oh, of course, here I am. I'm going to demonstrate this, and it's not going to go in easily because of this sleeve, but it will go in. I'm just really going to have to force it, I think, but it will clip in there one way or the other. I may have to actually cut some of this. Anyway, maybe I can show you the other one here that we can't even see. And of course, the bolt tightened, perpendicular to the Jeep. It would be much easier to snap in there like this. So yes, awesome, epic. Cannot show you one-handed anyway, snapping these in. Okay, so I wanted to speak a little bit. Why didn't I not use these for the submarine strap? So, let me get a flashlight here. There's no light. If you were doing a super clean installation, on a nice, Mustang or Camaro or a nice car like that, you'd want to try and use existing bolts, bolt holes for these to go in. That way, you're not drilling your car. It's nothing permanent, and you could put one of these, in place of each seat bolt on this side and on the other side. The problem that I ran into is, in order to do that, there's a bolt here, and that's fine, but on the other side over here, the bolt is on the opposite side of this harness, which would make it a pain. And on the driver's side, there's still a stud, a factory stud in the seat post, you know, that seat base. So I have one bolt hole and one post, so I really couldn't do it. So that's why I opted to, just stand by for 1 second. Anyway, so what I opted to do, and I showed you guys these before, I'm going to use these large eye bolts. I'm going to drill into the floor and mount it somewhere in there. There is a nice cross member here with extra reinforcing for the factory seat bolts. I'll probably tie into that. Just so that, you know, in all honesty, what they recommend is that you put your submarine, your sub strap is actually behind this slit in the seat. They want it somewhere back here, okay? I mean, that's great if you're doing a race car and you're going, you know, 150 miles an hour or doing Formula One or something like that. But, and I could drill back there on this side. I could do it on that side. It'd mean removing the seat, which I really don't want to do. I'm kind of being lazy on that deal. However, what I found was with the sub strap here in the slit, it's really tight. I mean, I'm a pretty average sized guy. You know, I'm 6 feet, you know, I weigh about 190, 195 pounds, and I found that this was crushing the man area, the family jewels area with it like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount this eye bolt to the front, and that way if I want, I can still run the substrap over the front of the seat. It's not ideal, it's not really what they recommend, but we're talking about, you know, going off-roading. I'm not rock crawling this. I'm not, you know, like I said, I'm not going 150 miles an hour. That should be fine. So I am going to do it like that. So let's drill some holes. Cool. All right, so I got the hole drilled. It's a little hard to see right now. It's right there because I stuffed it full of Permatex adhesive. You want to seal up this hole. So you can see here the eye-ring, and this is just a giant fender washer that I painted. I etch primed it and I painted it with wrinkle black just to kind of blend it in. And then I'm going to run just a regular washer, lock washer, and a nut on the bottom side of it. Really not much to it, but yeah, you want to, I mean, you want to seal up the hole. This Jeep's got plenty of holes in it already that are, you don't need to worry about, you know, this one leaking. So yeah, I mean, I could have, you know, I could have moved it back. I could have taken the seat out. There's a lot of different things that I could have done. I went this route to put it in the reinforced channel. And like I said, that way I can run the submarine strap over the top of the seat if I want to. I'm going to get this tightened up and I'll be right back with you. All right, so got the giant eye bolt in place. It actually bent this washer on the rib here, which is fine. Good and strong. It's in that rib there. If I'd moved it forward any further to avoid that rib, I'd be outside of the double walled structure underneath, which I didn't want. I really wanted the strength there. So submarine strap will clip right to that in 2 spots. There, just like that. Nothing to it. I did get the other straps. Sorry about this pain in the butt. I did get the other straps clipped on. Just couldn't do it with one hand while I was filming. That's all. Not really a huge deal. But I do have to run the shoulder straps and get them hooked up to the harness bar. And there's a specific routing that you do for that. And I may cover that. We'll see. What I did find was, of course, running the 6-point harness will render your seat completely useless. You can't flip it back and forth. You have to feed the straps through the top, through, and you know, they allow a little bit of travel, but you know, nowhere near enough. So again, it's a trade-off. You know, what do you want to do? Do you want, is it your soccer mom? Do you haul kids every day and stuff in the back of your Jeep? Or do you want to go off-roading with one good buddy in the front? You got kids, they're young, they can climb over the center console and contort underneath that harness bar to get in there anyway. So let's stand by and we'll thread some shoulder straps on. Awesome. So what happened with the Jeep. I'm going to give a pause because I'm going to plug in my my drop light here. Stand by. Went to get in the driver's side, and this is what I had waiting for me. Shop assistant. Oh, hello, George. Sorry, am I boring you? Big yawn. Hello. So, what I ran into was, what I did not take into account is I have these belts mounted in the Mustang, and what the problem that I encountered was mounted to the stock location to the seatbelt anchor points, the lap belts were too short. They were way too short. They ended up, they were like this, mounted to the seatbelt bolts. So what I had to do is I had to improvise. What I did here is I utilized these through bolts from the rock sliders, from the Warren rock sliders. Now they go through the sheet metal. It's a 3/8 by 16 inch bolt. I bought a longer bolt, and this is a piece of 1/4 inch steel here, so it's very reinforced. So I hooked the lap belt here. Now this one on this side towards the center console, I will admit, is a tad sketchy. I mounted it to, there's a bolt that holds the seat to the base, and the problem is it's only a 5/16 bolt. So I did do a nice wrap around, used a 5/16 bolt with a lock washer and a nylock nut to hold that on. That is out of all of them is the sketchiest one. But I mean, seriously, the sub strap is mounted to that huge eye bolt. You guys saw me install those. The shoulder strap's gonna be mounted to this harness bar. Overall, this is a pretty good clean installation. So let's go to the other side. So what I had to do over here is, you'll see the seatbelt bolt. The problem is the Jeep seats are really tall and the seatbelts mount really far back. So what I did was I moved it here to a seatbelt bolt. That's a nice big 3/8 grade 8 bolt. Lock washers, the whole deal. And I used one of these tabs here to extend it, and this will snap to that. Now here, I'm still able to use the eyelet, the Schroth eyelet that I purchased. If I find that I don't have enough room, what I will do is I bought some extra long 3/8/16 button cap bolts here from the rock sliders like I did on the other side, and I will put the longer bolt through there, and I'll use a tab just like this to mount that on. So, I say this over and over again, it's a common theme that we have here, but when you're modifying, you're going to run into issues like this. If you plan on having issues that you have to overcome, you'll be far ahead of the game. Now I'll go over here to the toolbox, give you a pause. So because I've mounted harnesses in the Mustang, and I mounted attachment points in the Saleen S331 truck, and now moving them to the Jeep, I have a lot of different mounting options here. Those are some wavy washers, some snap rings for the webbing. You saw, this is the thing I use. I used a bunch of these in the Saleen S331. I have a lot of these eye bolts, and these are for bolt-in applications. So you see, just over the course of all these vehicles, I have a lot of different mounting options, and you're gonna want to be prepared for that. So I'm gonna thread in the shoulder harnesses. I'm not going to sit back there and show you guys that. There is a specific method, and Schroth goes over that on their website. I'm going to give a brief pause, and I'll just kind of give you a brief overview of that. All right, so what we have here is what you're trying to do. This is a snap harness, a snap ring, whatever you want to call this. So what you're doing is you're creating a loop here. So this loop will go around the snap end of the harness, or a bolt end of the harness, or this loop here will go around your bar, your roll cage or your harness bar. And there's a specific pattern. You guys who are in the know probably know this. Of course, you guys also probably knew, like, oh, those harnesses, I'm looking at the harnesses, those are going to be way too short for your Jeep. So the end comes in here, it goes around, makes your loop, goes back through, over, and around, and here is your slack. So one more time, and we'll go in reverse. Here's your slack. Comes through, over the outside, under, over, around, and beginning. So just like this. And the best thing to do is, so I have 2 of these, I already have them made. What I'm going to do when I sit in there is I'm going to keep one at my side for a sample, and I'm going to thread the other one around the harness bar. Now you want to also make sure, now these have, of course they have, these are pulled down to snug them up, but you want to get your, get an approximate length correct on the harnesses as well, to give yourself that little bit of room for tightening. You don't want them too long, you don't want them too short, you want to make sure you get them just right. So anyway, I hope this helps you guys out if you're considering installing a harness bar and or harnesses in your Jeep. As always, my friends, I would like to thank you for watching, and please stay tuned. I have a lot more things to come, a lot more projects to come. I know I keep referring to the pile there, but it gets smaller every time I do a project. I do appreciate your support. I still respond to every comment. Please give me a like. Please subscribe if you're new to the channel. Tons of automotive content, and I try and provide at least one good video a week. All right? So as always, my friends, thank you for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.